The Flying Circus, a name that might seem silly or maybe it sounds like a performance to you, but during the First World War it was feared amongst the Allied forces. The Flying Circus was a group of German aces. Many lost their lives during the war to this flying circus. Their leader had 70 kills just by himself. One of the men that lost his life to this aerial powerhouse was unfortunately 2nd Lieutenant Harold Dwight Arnott. Arnott was a Canadian ace from Rosedale, Ontario. To tell this influential story, we have to go back to the skies of 1918 Western Europe, in the midst of the war. A battleground above the battlefield, a frenzy of planes, balloons, guns, bullets, and so much more. Lieutenant Arnott and his squadron were operating as a unit of the Independent Air Force with headquarters at Nancy, France. They were flying a raid. A raid is a military tactic mission which has a specific purpose and is not normally intended to capture and hold terrain, but instead finish with the raiding force quickly retreating to a previously defended position prior to enemy forces being able to respond in a coordinated manner or formulate a counterattack. This is a common and relatively straightforward, simple tactic. But in October 1918, it was definitely not normal for Arnott and his team. In the skies of war, an attack can fall upon you before you know what is happening. This was unfortunately the case, and this is what happened to Arnott. Before they could realize what had happened to them, they were engaged in intense aerial warfare with the German elite group, the Flying Circus. Led by notorious Manfred Albrecht Freiherr von Witzleben, he was known as the Ace of Aces. While the rest of his team didn't have the same prestige as this legendary German, they were all very skilled and worked together flawlessly. This German elite team dominated the fight. Not long into the fight, the leader of this raid, the flight commander, was under heavy fire and was going down. After showing his distress signal, Lieutenant Arnott and his observer, Lieutenant B. Johnson, a young Irishman, fought against all odds to protect their commander. The flight commander successfully landed safely and was unharmed, but Lieutenant Arnott and Lieutenant Johnson gave their lives for the flight commander. This battle is an example of all Canadians, not just the soldiers but also the pilots, medical officers, and anyone who helped the war, at the home front or on the real front. Fearless, selfless, and brave. Arnott and Johnson gave their lives in a battle that they knew they could not win, just so that they could save their flight commander and let him land safely unharmed. The unfortunate passing of our heroes is a story that is also not one of a kind. The average lifespan of a pilot during the First World War was only 3 weeks. Arnott lived a lot longer than most pilots. He lived through more than 2 years of aerial warfare, which is exceptional for a pilot at the time. Looking back now, as a proud Canadian, it is easy to see how the soldiers of World War I and the pilots shaped Canada. These men were fearless, strong, and willing to put their lives on the line for their country and for the greater good. The way that these men left their homes voluntarily and shipped themselves away from their homes, families, and loved ones to go fight in a war that they didn't start. The commitment to putting Canada on the map as a country, militarily and culturally, was extremely patriotic. This shaped Canada as not just a culture, a power, and a major player in military operations, but also as a political power and as an economy. We went from aiding Britain on the front of war and on the home front to fighting wars and winning together as Canada, our own country.